Headline news most affecting Chilliwack this week. chillTV continuing our series with the Municipal Election Candidates, Furgason, Price, Mercer and Facio. Chilliwack Teachers Association releasing their questionnaire for the trustee wannabes. Local services to honor the passing of Queen Elizabeth. Also, after a rough road trip, the Huskers are coming home. Josh will have sports later on. Our special guests this week include Dr. Darrell Furgason, Amber Price, Bud Mercer, and Leo Facio, all of them candidates in the October 15th vote. And your Chilliwack real estate update, the welcome mat with Matt Paisley. And this week, we welcome the campaign to Re-Elect Willow Reichelt for Chilliwack School Trustee as our presenting sponsor for chillTV's News of the Week. All right, Chilliwack, let's get started. And as we head into election season, chillTV would like to keep you appraised of all the important dates on your calendar. And that starts with the Chilliwack School Board debates. That's the evening of September the 29th with moderators DJ Pohl and William Clausen. That premieres after the news. On October the 3rd, we have the first Chilliwack Civic Town Hall. That's moderated by Shirley Hardman and Louis DeJagger. Free tickets are available through Eventbrite. This will be live streamed on chillTV. And finally, mark your calendar for October the 15th as Chilliwack chooses its live election night coverage presented by Waterstone Law Group and your host Clint Hames, and literally a plethora of political pundits examining the night's results as they happen. And now our top stories. Dr. Darrell Furgason will make another run as school trustee. He is aiming for a second term. We spoke with him on education issues as the October 15th vote looms. Dr. Furgason will be with chillTV, and that interview coming up later in the show. Amber Price and the Bookman have been a Valley fixture for years. Price has been a vocal advocate for rainbow crosswalks, LGBTQ rights, the Mural Festival, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Price will be joining chillTV for an interview later on in the show as well. City Councilor Bud Mercer, the retired Mountie and RCMP commissioner turned politician, running for a second term for Chilliwack City Council. Now, Mercer wants to build on, as he calls it, 4 productive years that he has been on council. chillTV also sat down with Mercer for an interview. That's coming up in a few minutes. Also, Leo Facio, he's been a public eye in Harrison politics for quite some time. And after a lengthy run as mayor of the village, he's going to run again. But this time as councilor. chillTV will ask him the why and what he envisions for Harrison. That too, coming up in a few minutes' time. The CTA, or the Chilliwack Teachers Association, published their questionnaire for school trustee election candidates. Now, it is a long and detailed document, but it should give you an idea of where all the Chilliwack candidates stand on various issues put to them in the questions that were provided. Now, note, there were 3 candidates that failed to make the deadline for the questions: Elliot Friesen, Lewis Point, and Richard Prosey. Now, if you want to see the entire document, it's detailed reading. The link is on chilliwackteachers.com. You have no doubt noticed that social media is filling up with requests to help various political campaigns, and with the October 15th vote looming, the fundraiser started in earnest around the Valley. No matter who the candidate is, it does cost money to run a campaign. And a reminder that chillTV will have extensive coverage after the polls close on October the 15th. By the way, if you are interested, Elections BC has all the rules for donations as well as media advertising, and that's all spelled out on their website. The world is still mourning the death of Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away on September the 8th. In Chilliwack, there were ceremonies at All Sappers Memorial Park in Vetter and the Veterans Park in downtown Chilliwack. While the crowds were small, there was no denying that emotions ran high. As requested by the Queen's family, local ceremonies with various legions were small in size. Mayor Ken Popoff was at the downtown ceremony. Back in February, Cultus Lake Park staff worked to very carefully remove the totem pole dedicated to the late Chief Richard Ritchie Malloway. The Cultus Lake Park Board approved the restoration of that historic landmark in January of this year, and then this past Tuesday, there was a rededication ceremony as the restored pole was put back in its proper place. You can find it in front of the Cultus Lake Park Board office, and it's easy to see just before you get to the roundabout. Now that the summer is over, And for, again, the Cultus Lake Park Board, the permits are in place for the repairs to the Cultus Lake dock at Main Beach. Now, that dock was literally torn to shreds after last November's storm. You can still access the trail, but the dock area, that's going to be fenced off. Here's a term that you may not equate with Chilliwack: drought. Roger Pannett with Environment Canada tells chillTV that with the present rate of precipitation, Chilliwack is on target to have the driest September since records started back in 1879. And by the way, lawn sprinkling, those restrictions are still in place until September the 30th. Some good news with the cooler weather and a few raindrops. BC Wildfire Service has lifted the Campfire prohibition for the Coastal Fire Center. That includes us in the Fraser Valley. Now, campfires are allowed, but Category 2 and Category 3 open fires remain prohibited. So they are fireworks, sky lanterns, the burn barrels, and burn cages. These restrictions will stay in place until October the 28th or until that order is rescinded. The BC Rivers Day Fall Cleanup with the Chilliwack Vetter River Cleanup Society and the Chilliwack Fish and Game Protection Association is coming up this Sunday. Registration is at the Chilliwack Fish and Game Club on Chilliwack Lake Road. They will be supplying the gloves and pickup sticks. Chilliwack's Ann Davis Society Video has won a prestigious award from DomesticShelters.org and Teresa's Fund. It's an original song written and donated to Ann Davis by Barry Stevenson. It was sung by both Barry and Jenna Walther, and it provides a strong and moving message about the difficulties of leaving a relationship that involves domestic violence. Just because the fall fair is over doesn't mean the fun stops in Agassiz. And yeah, they did run out of corn last week. Come out to the Country Fall Market this coming Saturday from 10 to 4 at the Agassiz Agricultural Hall on Pioneer Avenue. Admission is free. Bring your appetite. After the break, we're back with your Chilliwack real estate update, Matt Paisley and the Welcome Matt, followed by the plethora of candidate interviews, and then Josh and This Week in Sports.
It's back to school time, and after a long, quiet summer, the local real estate market is showing signs of life. Although prices are still down from their highs, they are still trending higher than this time last year. The market changes almost weekly now. However, the one thing that remains constant are the misconceptions many people have regarding how the real estate market works. Here are some of the most common misconceptions people have. Number 1. It's okay to skip a home inspection. Wrong. While not mandatory, they are always recommended to help protect you in the case of a deficiency. The age of the home does not matter either. Even new homes can have problems that are overlooked by the builder after final completion. A home inspection with a qualified home inspector is a small price to pay for a peace of mind. Number 2. Down payments are the only upfront costs when buying a home. Wrong again. Home inspections, mortgage appraisals, property transfer tax, lawyers' fees, movers, cleaners, and even GST in some cases are all costs associated with buying a home upfront before you start paying the mortgage. A good rule to follow is expect to pay an additional 3% of the purchase price to cover any costs upfront at the time of closing. Number 3. Is it always a good idea to look for the strata properties with the lowest monthly maintenance payments? Sure, it's good to pay less per month, but in many cases, the lower payment per month results in an extra yearly special assessment for non-budgeted repairs. Well-run stratas or community associations always make sure that the contingency fund is strong and there is always enough to handle multiple surprises. Also, some stratas include many services in their monthly maintenance fees that others do not. Always get a breakdown of where those fees go before you make a purchasing decision. And finally, number 4, some sellers believe you should never accept the first offer. If someone tells you that, you just got some bad advice. When looking to buy a home, Every buyer has a different strategy when writing their offers. Some will write low, looking to spark a negotiation and hoping to get a deal, while others, faced with months of losing out on deals, look to put their best offer first in order to negate a long drawn out negotiation. Sellers need to understand their needs and bottom line prior to listing a home. Remember, the moment you counter an offer, the original offer is no longer valid. There is no going back. Know your bottom line and don't be afraid to accept that first offer if it meets your needs. When it comes time to buying a property or selling your home, make sure to do your research. Talk to a qualified professional that can give you the advice you need to make the right decision. That's all for today, folks, and don't forget, if you or someone you know is looking for any real estate help in the future, please don't hesitate to call. I'm never too busy for your referrals. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.
chillTV's News of the Week, continuing with our profiles of various candidates running in the upcoming October 15th municipal election. Running for Chilliwack City Council, Amber Price. We know you from the book, man, but we also know over the years you've been politically active. Margaret Reed had a very good point. She said she was thinking about doing a run in 2018. She held off. She's doing it now. Have you thought in the past of running for office, or is this the first time you're going, okay, everything goes in, I'm all in?
It's a great question, and while over the years I have definitely given it consideration, now was the right time.
Okay. A number of issues that you're very passionate about. Walkable environments, walkable places, anything that you want to make sure that people know about you, because really, we know you about the Bookman and rainbow crosswalks, but that's about it. There are other issues that you want to touch on.
Maybe a couple murals too.
Yeah,
People know
exactly.
Murals too. Well, I think that, when I talk about those walkable neighborhoods, what I'm talking about is responsible development. The idea that we have limited footprints for development in Chilliwack and making the best use of those spaces. We have urban centers that already have all of the infrastructure that our growing community needs, and tying into that and densifying those areas makes a lot of sense to me. I think a common value in Chilliwack is protecting green spaces and protecting the ALR. We live in such a beautiful place with such a rich history in farming, and that responsible development ties back into preserving that land as well.
One thing that I hear time and time again is that Chilliwack is now facing the same problem as Abbotsford. There's only so much room you can grow out. We have to grow up.
Yes.
Are you in favor of more than 6 stories for high rises, because we have to house people and we have to put people somewhere?
Well, that phrase of building up and not out is one of my favorites. You look downtown at, say, the Algra development, and you look how they've maximized that footprint and incorporated retail, residential, such a nice mix of restaurants and shops. It's such a livable, walkable area. So absolutely, I think that densifying downtown core makes sense. I mean, you have to take into consideration who your neighbors are and make educated decisions in that sense. But the more units there are, the more citizens that we have participating in our community, and I think that's a real win for everybody.
And it's a flashpoint, the homeless situation. Now, there's various levels of government that have to be involved in this, but do you have any ideas or solutions you want to put forward?
Well, I think, coming back to that densification, what I'm talking about there also is affordable housing. The idea that we're not just talking about our homeless, we're talking about our almost homeless. We have such a large percentage of our community that is slipping through the cracks. Rents have gone up and they're living in a precarious position where they could become homeless at any time. Many people are one paycheck away. So I think ensuring that we have adequate and stable, plentiful rental inventory will decrease prices and enable more people to stay housed. And I also think those wraparound services for the people that are experiencing homelessness are integral to moving forward. We can't be solving everything with first responders. It's not a solution.
As a business owner yourself, you know the plight of some, that there's only so much room, again, that Chilliwack has for industrial use, for more major league businesses to come in. Are you in favor of expanding an industrial park? And again, where do we put it?
These are tricky questions, and they're some of the questions that I've faced in my role as a director on the Chilliwack Economic Partners Corporation, also known as the SEPCO, for quite some time. I was appointed to that board a few years ago, and I'm proud to be a female representative at that table, making good decisions in avenues such as this. And I think really being strategic about the businesses that we attract to Chilliwack and ensuring that we have the land available for them is integral for that kind of growth. We need both ALR, we need retail, we need residential, and we need that light industrial. So I think being cautious how we develop that and being prudent and responsible with that development is a great way forward.
And there's no denying it, the population base, my age, we're getting older. Services for seniors.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas or plans that could be incorporated?
Well, I think those walkable neighborhoods, the affordable housing, ensuring that we have all of the amenities that seniors want to access, they can walk to the grocery store, downsize to an affordable condominium, making sure that we're planning our neighborhoods so that those community members are not left behind, and giving them lots of opportunities to connect with each other and connect with the community at large so that they don't become isolated and tucked away from our society. You have so much to offer us.
You're running for City Council. You have the last word.
My name is Amber Price, and I am humbly asking for your vote for a seat on City Council on October the 15th. I look forward to serving Chilliwack further, and thank you.
Thank you, Amber. And chillTV will have extensive coverage after the polls close on October the 15th right here, and we want you to join us. You're watching chillTV's News of the Week. chillTV's News of the Week, continuing our series, talking with the candidates as we are leading towards the municipal elections and the vote on October the 15th. With me is, I'm going to call you a legend because you are Mayor Leo Facio of the Village of Harrison. This time around, though, you're not running for mayor, you're running for council, and you surprised everybody. Why the decision?
Well, you know, Don, I had two sets of papers in my hand, and the day before decided Leo's time to step down and done 4 terms as mayor, nearly 24 years on council, and let somebody else have a go at heading the village. And I thought about it very seriously, and I'm glad I made a decision. And I'll still be hopefully, if I'm elected, I will still be at the council seat and have a say. So that's the way it went.
Now, the recent UBCM conference, you were saying off camera, you had a few people approach you and actually saying bravo.
Yes, I certainly did.
In a nice way, by the way.
I had a couple of MLAs and one of the ministers I've known for years, and they said that they admired my decision for stepping down and thinking of the community first. And it hit me, actually, when they were saying those things. I was very appreciative. You know, it's a community I love, and I've been there over 40 years, and you know, the people of Harrison dedicated a memorial bench to my wife when she passed away, and those sort of things I don't forget. So my passion is with my family and my community.
The official community plan, the OCP, this past week, I guess heated would be a good way of describing that council meeting. What are the basic nuts and bolts of this? Because a lot of people were either in favor or they had some issues.
Yeah, well, the issues that normally comes up with the OCP is the East Sector lands. That's 400 acres of beautiful parkland, and there's approximately 75 or 78 acres, which is private, which originally belonged to the hotel, then was sold off to other folks. The issue there is that we had a sentence in the OCP which related to development in that East Sector, and on the 24th of August at the special meeting, I had that deleted. I made a motion, and council were in favour to take that out. There would be no development on the East Sector lands. Now, at last night at a public hearing, unfortunately this came up again, and council as a whole was more or less accused of doing backroom deals with a developer to move ahead to develop that land. Well, I can tell you very honestly now that that isn't the case. There's nothing come before council, an application of any kind to deal with that land for development. So I just wanted to clarify that. And the rest, of course, is to do with housing, which is a big issue nowadays, and especially rental, which is a problem everywhere. Transportation, people were concerned about coach houses that backed onto their houses, which they didn't realize that's what it was zoned for at the time when they moved in. But they're very passionate about that. The actual OCP is going to allow that duplexes could be built in certain areas, which is a much better, I think, better deal than having too many townhouses. Harrison has grown very quickly, as obviously a lot of people have seen, but as we found out from UBCM, there's a shortage of housing, and in Harrison I've had many people approaching me in regards to Leo. We live in a house, we're getting to a stage in our lives where we want to downsize, we're at this 70 or whatever age they may be, what is there for us? So I would be looking at putting it, if elected to council, that we should be looking at not really a seniors home, but maybe a complex for seniors to move in, but it's rented or they buy them. And also for rental for jobs is a big thing everywhere, shortage of jobs, and people do not want to travel to come to work unless there's something close by that they can rent. So that's something that we have to look at as well. And the growth of the village helps towards the economics of the village. Our tax base as it stands would not be able to pay for the services that we have if we didn't have grants from the governments, and if people didn't pay into the facilities. We have a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant, water plant, and a reservoir we put in years ago with triple the capacity, which helps for fire and everything else. And we've expanded the water lines to people that were on wells, 104 homes, and they were delighted. Most of them were that they've got fresh, clean water instead of the rusty well water. And
we could go on and on with some
Yes.
other issues too, but there's a couple of all candidates meetings next week.
Yes.
And which date is that?
The 28th is for Harrison Hot Springs between 7 and 9 in the Memorial Hall. And I believe the 29th is for the District of Kent. And I'm assuming that will be in the agricultural hall, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, I will always be calling you Mayor Leo. And even regardless of what happens, thank you for joining us, Mayor Leo Facio. And again, a reminder that we will be covering all of the Eastern Fraser Valley, including Harrison and Chilliwack, on October the 15th, as the municipal election coverage will be right here after the polls close on chillTV. You're watching chillTV's News of the Week. chillTV's News of the Week in our continuing conversations with the candidates for the municipal elections coming up on October the 15th. We are joined by Dr. Darrell Furgason, who is running for his second term on Chilliwack School Board. And Dr. Ferguson, one thing that we have started off with all the candidates is basically an introduction for those who don't know who you are and your background, especially getting into education.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to talk. Well, I was born in Chilliwack. My dad was in the Army, so I actually went to Watson Elementary when I was 6 years old. But I moved away and graduated in East Vancouver, but went overseas and did a lot of work in Australia. I got my PhD in Australia, and I did a master's degree there in international politics, and basically studied Islamic political ideology, because it's the radical things that were going on. There was a lot of people who were moving into the West, and they were looking for radicals. So I studied their ideology, and I was invited to do a PhD, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to examine the ideas of these Muslim students who come to Australia, university students. Yeah. So it's an education focus, and basically the topic is around the idea, what does Western education do to foreign students, especially Muslim students? How are they impacted? So it's focused on education, and I spent 6 years studying that and moved back to Canada 20 years ago. I'm originally from this area, and moved to Chilliwack to retire. And I thought, you know, I've got something I can add. I noticed the election was coming up, and noticed some of the issues that were being batted around, and some of the things coming up, like Soji 123 and Barry Neufeld and other people. And I thought, well, there's quite an issues going on here. So I decided to run for election to try and encourage others to run, never thinking I'd get in. but I got elected. So
And you
here
were
I am.
teaching at Trinity Western as well.
I taught in Trinity Western 2002, only for a year in the political science department. And it was just a term, and I felt that I would rather be out. And I taught many courses in the community as an adjunct faculty member at Liberty University, Virginia. Adjunct means I'm not present there.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, I can't work for them because I'm a foreign citizen. So I was at an informal status.
When it comes to the education issues in this upcoming election, I know academic excellence is something that you're really strong on. And we've had this conversation with Heather Maus and with Barry Neufeld as well, are we slipping when it comes to reading, writing, and arithmetic?
Well, yeah, I did hear you ask that. Look, writing I'm concerned about because, students today don't even have to write cursively. And I'm like shocked. Now I'd like to introduce it, but I doubt it's going to go anywhere. But that's my big focus. I've actually done 4 degrees at university in non-Christian universities. People said he's got a degree in theology. I have never studied theology. My degree is in the University of Sydney Religious Studies Department, which is looking at any religion from any point of view. So I'm concerned, not worried, but I would love to see our students be top rate academically. And so I'm really pushing. That's why I wanted to get in. I've got my list of points here, and the top one was academic excellence. I know what it takes to get there, and I believe our students can. And so I want to add that. I want to help teachers be better teachers. I wanted the administration to focus on what kind of people are we hiring. We need, teachers are really important, obviously, and the structures have to allow for that. So my concern was that. We're doing well in many areas, to be honest. We're close to the provincial average in graduation rates and struggling a little bit with the First Nations people, but that's typical provincial-wide. And there's a number of reasons for that. It's not so much what we fail to do, but there are cultural issues, family issues, psychological issues. So I'm happy with where we're going, but again, I would like to see a greater rate of students, getting top entrance to world-class universities and go on and become professors, and I would like to put Chilliwack on the map in that regard.
There's also been, now that we're getting into the thick of the election, yes, reading, writing, arithmetic are serious points that have to be addressed, but what about trades? You can get a degree. Barry Neufeld actually said it right here on this set. There are some that have their degrees and are driving a cab and they don't have a trade ticket to make some money. Yeah.
In fact, I think it's Barry who said, I'm not sure the number, but Chilliwack has, I think, the second highest focus on trades programs in the province. So we are definitely oriented towards all things, but I'm not a tradesperson. I can only contribute what I have. And there are others, and in fact, there are people running for the election whose main thrust would be trades. And so, hey, we are all for that as well.
You have the final word. As you could appreciate, it's been an interesting time, and it always is when it comes to politics, but the final word is yours.
Well, I'd like to let the people of Chilliwack know that we have a lot of good people running. I would say we are conservative people. We're people who are family people. There's a lot of words being thrown around out there. I've been called everything under the sun in terms of phobias, and even Islamophobic by a former chair. And I mean, I've studied a master's and a PhD in this area. So don't follow the slogans. Don't follow all the media. No problem here with this.
No offense.
But
no
people
offense
have to
taken.
think. And one of the main things I'd like to see happen is more critical thinking, more ability to consider the issues and not follow sloganeering or particular political platforms. I'm against ideologies being taught, masquerading as content, but they're housed within an ideology. That's part of my training. And not indoctrination, but education. Stay away from the indoctrination. Stay away from political activism. Let's get our kids graduating and do the best and be the best citizens they can be.
Dr. Darrell Ferguson, a big thank you for joining us. And chillTV will have extensive election coverage on election night, October the 15th. You're watching chillTV's News of the Week. chillTV's News of the Week, continuing our series of talking with the candidates running for either City Council or for School Board. Bud Mercer is joining us, running for a second term for Chilliwack Council. One of the things you've been mentioning in your social media is you've had 4 productive years. So what have you done that you're happy about, you're proud of, and what do you want to get to in this next term?
Perfect. When I ran in 2008, I made commitments to the public. They trusted me with their vote, and it's been 4 years now, and they deserve an answer. I'm one of those guys that kind of keeps a scorecard. I promised to do something. What have I done? So when I ran 4 years ago, I talked about public safety. I'm in my probably 42nd, 43rd year of public safety, not only in Chilliwack, BC, Canada, but internationally in my past life. So it comes naturally to me, but this is a different context, obviously, in Chilliwack. I also have a passion for parks, trails, and kids. And as people heard me say 4 years ago, that kids should come home at the end of the night stinky and needing a bath, and not from sitting in front of a TV playing video games. We have a beautiful environment, beautiful equipment, state-of-the-art equipment for people of all ages and abilities, and we need to promote that so kids are out in the fresh air and playing. And people may have been tired of hearing me say it, but that's how I feel. I also ran on low taxes. Taxes are the basis for everything. They're the basis for business and industry. They're the things that businesses that are attracted to Chilliwack want to look at. They're important to new home buyers, first home buyers, seniors moving in and trying to get back into the real estate. Taxes are important to everybody. And the last thing I promised to focus on was quality development. When I look up at Promontory and I see houses that are all the same color, and I look around the city, I think we went through a period where that was maybe neat or cool, but I think it's a long time past its prime. And as a city, we live in one of the most beautiful places in the world. We just should insist on the very best in development. And I promise to focus on that as well. Talking about development, and Chilliwack is running into the same situation that Abbotsford has. There's only so much room to grow out. Do we start growing up? And are you a fan of 6, 8, 10-story buildings for housing? Should we look at it? Can we look at it? Do we have to look at it? Yeah, that's two parts to the question, right? You're right. There's not a lot of opportunity anymore to move out. We're in the ALR, the Agricultural Land Reserve, and we pride ourselves on being a city who one of the major industries is farming. We should celebrate that. So I agree with that decision, and frankly, that we can't move out anymore and encroach on farmland. That's our history. We need to cherish that and hold on to it. That requires us to move up. And there's only so many peaks on so many hills and mountains around us. I think apartment buildings and that are higher than the traditional 4 and 5 stories are important. I think we're going to get there. We just have to be smart to make sure they're in the right spot. With your background before politics, obviously with the RCMP, we talk about public safety. There's always those on social media that say that Chilliwack is growing too fast. It's not a safe city. Is Chilliwack a safe city? Or do we need to do a lot more work? So I'm going to back up a little bit because I get this question a lot. Yeah. And when we think about public safety, Don, the first thing everybody thinks about is policing. Mm-hmm. And nothing could be further from the truth. Public safety is about all partners coming together in an environment to make our community safe. It's not just about policing. It's about Crown Council. It's about our court system, the judicial system. It's about bylaws. It's about our fire department. It's about our bylaws. Everybody, it's about corrections. We have a lot of people released into our communities. They have a piece of this pie we call public safety. But what unfortunately happens, and it's happened here in Chilliwack, is that when the two most important ones are ones I forgot to mention. It's Fraser Health, addiction and mental health services, right? And we could talk for a long time about that. But what happens is when other levels of government fail to deliver on that which is theirs, things go downhill very, very quickly, and then surprise, surprise, it becomes a police problem. And that's happened to a great extent here in our city. You were talking about taxes too, and there's always this argument that when it comes to elections, federal is the most important, then provincial, then municipal. Is it really the other way around, where the municipal elections are the most important? I believe so. This is where the work gets done. I And for people that don't perfectly understand the structure, I certainly didn't understand it 4 years ago. The work gets done in the committees. And the committees are, like Parks and Trails Committee, Public Health Committee, the Public Art Committee, Public Safety, Integrated Community Safety Task Force, Affordable Housing, Design Review Committee, Arts Committee. Like, I could go on and on. That's where the work gets done. And in those committees, the chair and the co-chair are generally elected officials, but everybody else on that committee are from the city of Chilliwack. And they're very giving and passionate people, but they all have an expertise on the committee they're in. That's where the work gets done. That's where the decisions are made. And those recommendations that those committees make come to council, and the work's been done. And council looks at the recommendations. So when it comes to looking after your city, and I'm not talking about the grants for dikes and things that are very important as well from our federal and provincial partners. And I'm not picking on dikes as an example, but for the day-to-day business of a city, it's the municipal elections that are important.
Bud Mercer vying for a second term, and chillTV will have extensive coverage on election night after the polls close on October the 15th. And Bud, again, thank you for coming.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And you're watching chillTV's News of the Week.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Sports. Josh here with you once again. Good to be here as always. Let's just jump right into it. This past weekend, the Valley Huskers made their annual trip to the Apple Bowl in Kelowna. And unfortunately for our boys, the Okanagan Sun did what they usually do, which is win. The Sun shut down the Huskers 49-7. Oof, rough night for sure for the boys, but they're still 5-3 and tied for second place in the BCFC. The Huskers will now take their bye week and return home for the first time in a month to face the Vancouver Island Raiders Saturday, October the 1st at 7 p.m. at Exhibition Stadium. We're going to stick with football, but go to high school football now, as the John Barsby Bulldogs hosted the GW Graham Senior Varsity Grizzlies in Week 2 exhibition action in Nanaimo last Friday night. The Grizzlies won easily 35-7, and in this weekend's final exhibition game, the 3-0 Grizzlies will play their homecoming game against the St. Thomas More Knights Friday night, 7 p.m., Exhibition Stadium. That's where all the football games are, folks, right here in Chilliwack. Now, as an aside, according to Canadian Football Chat, a long-running website dedicated to tracking and ranking Canadian high school football teams, players, the Grizzlies are rated as the 5th best high school football team in this country. Quoting from the website, expect plenty of movement in the rankings to take place on the West Coast once the regular season finally gets underway, with everyone gunning to take down the reigning champions from Chilliwack, GW Graham. Way to go, boys. Way to represent Chilliwack. Well done. Good luck to the Grizzlies. Just down the road, the Sardis Senior Varsity Falcons football team are having a tougher time to start the season. Robert Bateman came to town and gave a few lessons to the Falcons, winning in a rout 42-0 at Exhibition Stadium. Yes, it's an exhibition game, but it always hurts to lose like that. Granted, this year is a complete rebuild year, with only 2 returning players, as most of the team graduated in June. This Friday, the seniors will have their bye, and the junior varsity team will take on Robert Bateman. Fingers crossed for a better result for the junior squad. Let's go to hockey now, where the Chilliwack Jets are hosting Pride Night, Sunday, September 25th, and they're looking for volunteers to help assist with 50/50 sales, ticketing, and merchandise. The game's going to start at 5 p.m. at Sardis Sports Complex on Tyson Road, but volunteers are asked to arrive at 3:45 p.m. If you want more information or to get involved with this super cool event, reach out to the Jets on their social media. Former Vancouver Canuck Jake Virtanen was acquitted of sexual assault earlier this summer and is now trying to restart his professional career. He has signed a PTO, professional tryout agreement, with the Edmonton Oilers. While the agent at first scoffed at the former 6th overall pick being forced to accept a PTO, it appears the Oilers are the only NHL team to have made an offer. Virtanen has accepted and will report to Edmonton for the start of training camp this week. Now, with all the sports happening this fall, football, basketball's coming back soon. We already talked a little bit about hockey. Don't forget about soccer, because Chilliwack FC announced its upcoming Pro D-Day camps for elementary age school kids born between 2010 and 2017. The camps will have both an indoor and outdoor space to play, and participants are going to work on soccer-specific skills and probably improve their overall athletic ability as well. In October, the camps are going to be on the 7th and on the 21st. So again, check out their social media for all the information. All right, that's all we've got for sports. Once again, it's been Josh. Such a pleasure having you with us, and we will see you next week. Now to Don with the weather.
chillTV weather, it is a picture-perfect weekend for the first weekend of autumn with the highs in the low 20s. But the dry conditions continue. Campfire restrictions are lifted, but other burning restrictions are staying in place. Now, if you'd like to participate in reporting news in Chilliwack and you have a story that you think we should know about, always drop us a line at news@chilltv.ca and we'd love to hear from you. That's the news this week. I'm Don Lehn.